What's good everyone, it's Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. For today's video, we will be taking a look at the performance review of the Nike GT Jump Academy. Alright, so before we get into the shoe, I don't want to smear this shoe and just talk a bunch of garbage about it, but this is one of the most puzzling releases and or basketball shoes on the market right now. The Nike GT Cut Academy was actually a really nice performer, and then with the release of the Hustle Academy, that was one of the worst basketball, if not the worst basketball shoes I've ever played in. And these aren't quite as bad as those, but it just puzzles me on why the brand is releasing these basketball shoes with absolutely no tech and really no reason to be on the market. I don't know who's going to buy this shoe. Keep in mind, this shoe does retail for $80 USD, 105 here in Canada. But without further ado, let's get into the performance review of the Nike GT Jump Academy. Alright, so first things first, as always, starting with the traction pattern here at the bottom. You do have this multi-directional traction pattern, and I was actually quite surprised on how this performed. On all of my movements, whether it was linear or laterally, I was good to go. And this rubber compound is a solid variety, and it is kind of like that recycled rubber compound on the bottom. I don't think that's going to affect the overall durability. The rubber compound itself is decently soft, and honestly these performed really nice as far as the traction goes. They had a pretty loud squeak. I know that has nothing to do with performance, but it offers just a little bit of feedback, and just sheer stopping power, these were very nice on foot, and I really enjoyed the traction on the Nike GT Jump Academy, and for that reason they're going to score a very solid 8.5 out of 10. Now, moving your way up from that, the brand is really promoting this shoe to help with whether it's your jumping or your landing, and giving you a really nice landing surface. They're saying that this shoe does house a dual density foam compound, or 2 layers of foam rather. The green stuff here is a lot softer at the back, and then the white stuff is like a very, and I mean very firm Phylon material. Honestly, there's really no compression underfoot. This shoe just feels like you're walking on a very firm sandal, like a Birkenstock. Honestly, there's really no comfort underfoot, and that's from heel to toe. Like I said, I've played around 6 hours in these thus far, and there's no compression at the back. In the forefoot, there's no compression, and you are pretty close to the floor. But if you like a barefoot feel within a basketball shoe, I guess maybe try these out. But honestly, just the lack of tech and lack of inspiration within a hoop shoe, it's very puzzling to me that the brand is kind of dubbing this a GT Jump Academy, because I do think if they would have spent, another $15 or $20 on the shoe and included a Zoom airbag somewhere or full length air strobel, that's a cheaper setup. I think this would have been a much better option. But honestly, it just kind of surprises me that this shoe even made it to the market, especially as far as the cushioning goes, because for me, honestly, they just felt super dead. The insole itself is like that Ortholite insole. There's not even any branding on the back of the insole. Like, that's really how much they cared about this project and or shoe in general. And I just don't understand it. I don't really care for it. And honestly, even for like $40, I don't think I would pick this shoe up unless you're going to throw an orthotic in it, because there's really no comfort underfoot. And that's why these are going to score a 4 out of 10 as far as the cushioning goes. As far as the fit goes, I did go true to size with my normal size 10.5, and for me, they worked on foot. They fit actually quite nice on foot, and that's probably because of the materials. It is more of a high cut or mid cut design, but for me, my toe was right near the end of the shoe right here. For me, they were somewhat wide foot friendly as well, so if you are a wide footer, I think if you go true to size, you'll be good to go. And the materials are very soft and pliable. At the back of the shoe, you have a decent amount of padding, and at the tongue as well. So overall, it was decently comfortable. Again, it's just a very cheap basketball shoe, and I would in no way, shape, or form pay the retail price point of even the $80 or $105 here in Canada. I just think that there's really nothing going on within the shoe that should make you go out and purchase it. I know that might sound bad, but it's just so much lack of inspiration within this model. They could take the funding from this shoe and throw it into another model, or just retro some other basketball shoes, like more of the GT Cut 1s, with taking the budget from this. It just doesn't make sense on why they released it. Maybe for a really, really budget-friendly model for parents and kids, but for me, just wearing this, yes, they were decently comfortable as far as the fit, but other than that, honestly, there's just not a ton going on within this model. But as far as the fit goes, I'm gonna have to give these a 7.5 out of 10. As far as the materials go, on the GT Jump Academy, you're getting a synthetic material running throughout at the back of the shoe, and then at the front of the shoe, you have a decently open cell mesh material wrapping around the front of the shoe and up the tongue. You also have a synthetic, almost like leather patch right here that does say GT Jump Academy, and then you have a small fuse portion right here at the toe box for some extra durability and support. But again, keep in mind, an $80 basketball shoe is not going to have any premium materials. It's definitely going to get the job done on indoor courts, but honestly, I could see this material tearing very quickly outdoors and even indoors after some time. So again, very cheap setup here on the Nike GT Jump Academy, and that's why they're going to score a 6 out of 10 as far as the materials go. As far as the support goes for this model right here, it's actually quite supportive, all things considered. So starting at the back of the shoe, you do have this internal TPU heel counter, which does a pretty nice job of locking your foot in at the back of the shoe and just offering the support that you will need within this model. You also have this softer green foam that does wrap up the back of the shoe that offers a little bit more stability here at the back of the GT Jump Academy. Moving your way down from that, you do have that foam material and this rubber wrapping up the side of the shoe. Your foot is seated housed within this material, so on hard lateral cuts, you shouldn't have any issues with your foot spilling over the footbed. At least I didn't while playing in these. It's a decently supportive basketball shoe. And then at the bottom of the shoe, you also have a pretty wide and stable base, and it kind of comes to a point right here. So that's going to help prevent your foot from teetering over if you do land awkwardly within this model right here. So it's decently supportive. I think if you're a bigger player, you can definitely get away with this, smaller players alike. So I think this is honestly a pretty decent setup as far as the support goes, and that's why these are going to score a pretty decent 7.5 out of 10. As far as the weight goes for these guys right here, in a US size 10.5, they do come in at 13.75 ounces. So all things considered, this is a pretty lightweight basketball shoe by today's standards. Most of my shoes in a size 10.5 weigh around that 14.5 or 15 ounces for my size. So like I said, this is a decently lightweight basketball shoe. Also to do with the materials, obviously here at the front of the shoe, like I mentioned, them being more of an open cell mesh, it is a pretty breathable shoe here at the front and wrapping up the tongue. My foot was never overly kind of sweating within the shoe, and that's a good thing. The materials are cheap, but they are breathable, and they do break in pretty quickly as well. And then really quickly, as far as the design goes on this shoe right here, I think with the right colorway, these would look decent, like a black, red, and white. With this green colorway, it's really nothing special. Kind of looks like a Grinch colorway, honestly, with the lighter green, the darker green. Obviously, red laces in here would have done the trick. I don't hate the design, I just really don't care for the lack of tech within the shoe. I think that was the make or break, but obviously Nike was going for an ultra budget friendly model at $80 USD, and that's what you get you get exactly nothing as far as tech goes for an $80 basketball shoe. So if you like these, go after them. But for me, I would wait till they go on absolute deep discount, and or checking them out at the outlet on the hash wall where they're already discounted, and then you can get an additional 40% off. Because for me, there's really no purpose for this shoe on the market currently, because you can get a ton of better basketball shoes than this, like the Jaw 1s, the 2s, at deep discount that are cheaper than this shoe at retail for $80. But that's going to do it for today's performance review on the Nike GT Jump Academy. Sound off in the comments what you think of the shoe, if you've tried them out, and if you're planning on picking them up eventually if they hit deep discount. But as always, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, that would definitely help the channel a ton. And check out my Instagram over at Sneaker Tech Talk, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. As always, thanks for watching today's video, and until next time, peace.